Yeah, it's got to be Buster Posey because make no mistake, Tony's not doing the lineups on his own. He's not deciding who's going to hit where. He's very much brought in there to be a bridge between Buster and the clubhouse and to basically do the planning that the front office wants done on the field and during the game. And so you have to know when you're the president of a team, you know, even if the fans don't, what's happening, but that doesn't mean you fire the person responsible for it. What it means is that deep inside, you know that if this doesn't work, it's really Buster's issue, but you're not going to start with Buster. You start with Tony.
And joining us now, courtesy of the River Islands Guest Line, former president of the Florida/Miami Marlins and a host of the Nothing Personal podcast you can find on Metalark Media. David Samson joins us now, courtesy of the River Islands Guest Line. Joe Spadoni.
Hi, David.
Alongside Joe Shasky. David, how you doing this morning, man?
I'm doing well. What's up, Joes? How you guys doing over there in Frisco? Good morning.
Look, that boy, call it Frisco. I love it. Hey, David, I've been following you for quite some time, and you've referenced on multiple occasions the Buster Posey situation. And I actually was listening to you compare the Red Sox to kind of the Giants and other teams who think they should be competing every year because of their payroll size or their market size. But I want to get to Posey in general. There's a lot of heat coming his way from Giants fans right now. You called the Tony Vitello hire a vanity hire by Buster Posey. Can you elaborate?
Well, in baseball, it's very much a copycat league. When you see something that works, think about the infield shift. It starts with one team, and then all of a sudden 2, 5, 10, and then 30 teams are doing it. And any incremental advantage that you got from doing the shift basically disappears when everyone does it. So we're all looking for something new, but we're trying to make sure we don't get left behind by something that someone else is doing. Think about this managerial hire. It is very common for new GMs to get in the game and say, all right, I'm going to do things totally differently. I don't have to in any way look at history because I'm a player. I'm a Hall of Famer. I'm an all-star. I know what I'm doing. I know what players want because I know what I wanted. We've seen that time and time again, and it doesn't work. Why is Buster Posey doing Tony Vitello? Think about it. It's never been done. There's no time a college coach has come to the big leagues to be a manager. Why is that? Is Tony Vitello the only person, the only qualified manager in the history of coaches to be able to make that jump? It seems quite unlikely to me. But if you're Buster Posey, what a great swing. If it works, you're a genius. But the odds are it's not going to work, and you're going to end up looking like a fool, and you're going to have to fire him, and then you're a few years away from being fired yourself. That's generally how this goes.
Well, let me ask you this then on Tony Vitello. There's a lot of being made about kind of the conversations that he's having with the press after the game. And when you've hired somebody, you hired a GM to be your manager, and I've heard the story as to why you guys went that route, and you hired Ozzie Guillen, and we all know what happened there. So you've had a lot of different types of successes and failures regarding managers. How quickly do you know whether that person is the one or not?
Well, I knew Joe Girardi was a problem in his introductory press conference. So you can know super early, like before even the first game, that this is not going to work out. Sometimes it takes a while. It wouldn't have occurred to me that Edwin Rodriguez would have just bailed on the team the way he did. It wouldn't have occurred to me that Mike Redmond wouldn't talk to me for all these years after we let him go. Yeah, sometimes it just takes a long time to know what is going on in a work relationship. But the thing with Tony, you've got to have PR people. And when you hire someone like Tony, you have to understand that you know a weakness exists, because the hiring process will show you that weakness. We knew that Ozzie was an absolute flamethrower with the media, but it didn't occur to us that he'd talk about Fidel Castro. So you can prepare for some stuff, but not for everything. And what Tony's done since he started, that was easily seen, in my opinion. And I don't know why he's not getting better PR advice, because it's just crushing.
David Samson joining us here, and it's interesting. You say that about Tony Vitello. I love it as a media guy, personally. We all do it, you yourself, because it's something we can react. No, seriously. Like, this was the big problem with a lot of Giants fans the last couple of years was Bob Melvin. He's just kind of he's an old guard. He's been there. He's done that. He's not going to give you any flashy answers. He's going to go through the motions. And it felt like that was reflective of the team, David. A lot of the fans felt that way. It's like the team was just going through the motions. Having said that, even going through the motions, they were a 500 ball club. So they weren't awful by any stretch of the imagination. Fast forward to right now, they're 3-8 on the season. It's not looking good. They've lost 4 straight. But how much is that actually on the manager right now? Because we don't even know how much Tony Vitello is doing on a day in and day out basis, because he's said throughout this whole process it's a team effort with the front office. So I guess my question is, if you're a fan of the Giants right now, who should you be most frustrated with? Is it Buster Posey?
Yeah, it's got to be Buster Posey, because make no mistake, Tony's not doing the lineups on his own. He's not deciding who's going to hit where. He's very much brought in there to be a bridge between Buster and the clubhouse and to basically do the planning that the front office wants done on the field and during the game. And so you have to know, when you're the president of a team, even if the fans don't, what's happening, but that doesn't mean you fire the person responsible for it. What it means is that deep inside, that if this doesn't work, it's really Buster's issue, but you're not going to start with Buster. You start with Tony. And the reason why you do that is you don't want an overt action that makes it seem like you are doing something that you have said you're not doing. So you try to do the Heisman. You say, oh no, I can picture the press conference right now when they let him go and they bring in someone else. But let me just finish with one other thing for you. Don't be distracted by the fact that players give him a tap on the tuchus when he gets ejected and how it looks like a great clubhouse and how he's a great players manager. Front offices don't care about that as much as you think, because you go from a players manager, then to a disciplinarian, then back and back. It's really about the players that you have and whether or not you've put together a team that can win and compete. So we don't get distracted by looking down in the clubhouse and saying, wow, they're getting beers together after the game. How great is that? And a great example of that is the WBC USA team. It's not like Mike Hill looked at Mark DeRosa and said, man, you're the greatest manager ever because you were all in there having beers till 1 a.m. That's just not how the evaluation goes.
It's really fascinating. I mean, there's 150 games left. I mean, I want to ask you 1,000 questions. Is it too early to panic? Because I'm telling everyone, take a deep breath. It's not a great start to the season. I acknowledge that. It does not look good. We're throwing the ball around. Pitching looks really weak. But we also have to let more of the season play out. Like, I'm frustrated, but I just feel like we're panicking too soon.
Oh, you are. 40. That's the number that we would use every year. 40 games. That's what we need to see. And then because we want to make a change, and God knows we made changes a lot, you want to have time before the trade deadline to see if that change can work. So 40 games is the sample size, about 25% of the season. Any 11-game stretch of 3-8. Listen, would I not like to be 5.5 games out of first? Yeah. Would I like to not, in theory, be behind the Rockies? Hell yeah. But I'm not going to panic yet. But I can sort of picture panicking, but I got 30 games left.
I appreciate you giving us that perspective. When Buster took over this situation, the cupboard felt very dry in terms of who was on the roster. They had nobody on a multi-year deal outside of Logan Webb, and the farm just felt completely barren. And I was of the nature, hey, they have to overspend. There's a Giants tax right now to bring in Willy Adames because you have no shortstops in the pipeline. There's a Giants tax to retain Matt Chapman, as crummy as that deal might be in 3 or 4 years. And then to take on the Devers deal, we've been looking for a middle-of-the-order guy forever. I mean, how do you view it when you're taking over a team? Because there's the balance of the farm, and then there's the big league team that you ultimately want to win. And I felt like they needed to create some sort of momentum going forward by overpaying for some of these big leaguers until the farm can come help and contribute. Am I reading that wrong from a fan's perspective?
Listen, I've done it both ways. I've tried to build a team through free agency and it didn't work. We had a bunch of young players in pre-arbitration and they really put together some great seasons. We won a World Series with the team that no one really expected to compete by bringing in a veteran like Pudge Rodriguez and then trading for Jeff Conine at the deadline. and getting Juan Pierre from Colorado. So there's so many different things you have to do to put together a winning team. And trust me, the Giants try the same as the other 29 teams. You just have a 29/30th chance of failing. That's the crappy part about being an executive, is that it's actually bad to be a fan too. And I don't mean to disparage being a fan, because it's amazing. But man, you're setting yourself up for failure all the time. And the Giants have had such a run of unbelievable winning and championships, and just what a great, it's one of the top 2 parks in baseball. It's hard for me to feel badly for Giants fans with what's gone on over the past 25 years. But I will say that right now, there's no shortcut to putting a winning team together. And you said 2 words that really a front office, if they say, they're screwed: a Giants tax. What you're saying is it's okay to overpay in order to patch together something while waiting for something that you're not sure what it is. That is a losing mentality.
I would agree with that. And I know you say, hey, look, you should win a championship once every 30 years if there's 30 teams in the league. Like, I understand that. They've been to the playoffs one time in a decade, basically. And that's what it is from my vantage point. And I thought once we won a bunch of championships, hey, we're going to elevate ourselves into the upper echelon of the sport. And here comes all the revenue. And here comes all the money and the infrastructure. And it hasn't materialized that way. So I understand, like, yes, the championship dynastic run was incredible. I just thought it would, catapult us into a category of baseball that it just feels like we're on the outside looking in at today.
Every good run comes to an end. Everything comes to an end. Even what the Dodgers are doing right now. If you think that the Dodgers are going to be this for 30 straight years, it's just unlikely. Yeah, the Yankees finish above 500 every year. Great. 1 ring since 2009. The Braves won the division every year in the 90s. Great. They got 1 ring in 96. It's just really hard to get rings. So when you can grab a bunch and then say to yourself what you just said, I feel so badly for you. You're like, yeah, that was amazing, but then I wanted more.
Exactly.
It's like heroin, but you have to understand that it doesn't end that way the majority of the time. Most times you're just on the couch in your underwear, dirty.
Well, there's an image. As David Samson's joining us here on the River Islands Guest Line, Nothing Personal podcast, former president of the Miami Marlins, excuse me. But no, you're saying that, and we're the flagship of the Golden State Warriors, David. So we are very well aware of the mortality and the end here.
Steph Curry, greedy we get.
And how greedy? No, we get greedy. Like with Steph Curry, he has runner's knee, which is an old man. Like, you were running marathons, David. We all got runner's knee after the age of 30, it feels like. And he's 38 years old, and we're seeing the mortality of this team. Draymond Green, Steve Kerr. We were talking shop with them yesterday. So it's a real thing. And for Giants fans, it's been so long, 10 years really, since you felt good like this team could compete for, a World Series. And there's a lot of frustration. I know.
10 years.
10 years.
Do you know how many teams would trade places with you to be able to say, hey, it's been 10 years. Why don't you go talk to Toronto or Seattle or New York, Yankees and Mets? I mean, there's just so many teams. It's just funny that you say that as though it's a badge of dishonor. It's been 10 years. I would say congratulations. Well,
yes, but also we've had some the Bay is spoiled. Yes, the Bay Area is very spoiled. The Niners have gotten to 2 Super Bowls. They haven't won one. Now, hell, they've gone to 3 Super Bowls since 2010. Haven't won in over 30 years, since I was 1 year old back in 1994, with Steve Young and company. So, yeah, they've been very spoiled. I do want to circle it back, though, David, to Tony Vitello. He is such a lightning rod here in the Bay Area right now. And making the rounds last week on our airwaves, we interviewed the guy, Jim Bowden, obviously former MLB executive. I'm sure you've crossed paths with him. Foul Territory podcast. He used the word embarrassing to describe the early tenureship of one Tony Vitello. Is that too strong?
Yeah, I don't like using that word, only because I feel like you only can be embarrassing to yourself. I've always felt that way, and people may criticize that as a personality defect, but I don't get embarrassed for myself, nor do I think I'm embarrassing, no matter what headlines are being created or what people say. You need to have a very thick skin. I think that if you are a management team like Buster Posey or, Larry Bear or anybody, you've got to look past sort of feeling that. You have to really look at the inside of your organization. Do we have the right people making the right decisions? Do we have the right systems in place? Why are we signing the players we're signing? And when we sign them, that they are not performing the way we thought they would? Why are we not getting the young players graduating through our system the way that teams should, which is getting basically one player per year through your pipeline up to the big league level if you're really operating well? So I just don't know that what Tony's doing is embarrassing. I'm just worried, if I'm the Giants, that what he's doing is indicative of something that just won't work. And that would be far worse than any of the gaffes.
So we got this kid, Bryce Eldridge, in the minors. Everybody's got somebody in the minors that they think is the next coming. And I understand that. But you brought up something very interesting this week where you were talking and discussing about these contract buyouts where you'll get, an 8-year contract for a kid who's never even taken an at-bat in a big league game, a real big league game, not a spring training game. I don't understand it. I don't get what the rush is. If the player is good over multiple years, you could still give him hundreds of millions of dollars. Yes, you want to get a discount by like maybe $20 or $30 million, but buying out the 6 years of eligibility and 3 of those are arbitration, I don't know. I don't think it's sound business to be buying out a guy who hasn't taken a big league at bat. Why are you so against it?
Because we did the math. We looked at every young player and every deal that was signed, and we would market to market every year. What do I mean? We had a list of players. This player got this contract. If this player did not have a guaranteed contract, what would that player make in arbitration? So if a player's coming off an injury or is coming off not a great year, he'd be making $3 million as a first-time arbitration eligible player, but his contract is for $5 million guaranteed. That means it's $2 million to the positive for the player. And then we'd go to the next year, and we would follow them each year. Call it early analytics if you'd like. And guess what? Under 50%. If it's not 50.1% advantage to the team, then you shouldn't be doing it. It's sort of like in a casino. It's not fun to play when your odds are less than 50-50 or not true odds. And the odds of these contracts working out for the team, it just doesn't work. But it certainly feels good getting back to the underwear on the couch thing. The press conference when you announced Connor Griffin, the excitement in Pittsburgh, oh my God, it's amazing. But no one is there to think about what happens down the line. And then the worst part is that if in fact it does work out and the player outperforms, all of a sudden the agent and the player come to you and say, hey, dudes, rip up that contract. I want a new contract. This isn't fair. But if they stink, they don't come up to you and say, hey, my bad, I wasn't as good. Let me give you some money back. So it's a very one-way relationship. And in my great personal experience with one-way relationships, they don't work too well.
That's well said. Hey, David, appreciate the time this morning, man, and we'll do it again soon.
Looking forward. Have a great day. Good morning.
Good stuff.